Hello, good evening. Welcome to Monday's Look North. Tonight, a story of fire and water. Fleeing the wildfires of Rhodes, we speak to holidaymakers as Yorkshire airline Jet2 sends extra flights to bring people home.
Really concerned, really anxious because we weren't being told anything. I think that's the difficulty. We had very little contact from our tour providers.
We'll ask a travel expert what it means for people with holidays booked to Greece this summer. Meanwhile, back in Sheffield, it's the rain causing a headache. There's anger about the state of Hillsborough Park after this weekend's Tramlines festival. The council says the festival will pay to put it right. Staff shortages mean no babies have been born in hospital in the Kirklees area for more than a year. And saluting Sue, the Barnsley market trader clocking up half a century selling undies to the town.
Well, after that weekend washout, it's nice to see a bit of blue sky. That was Flamborough earlier this afternoon. But what about the rest of the week? Is there any sign of summer? Join me to find out.
Hello, thank you for your company this evening. Yorkshire airline Jet2 has begun an operation to bring home hundreds of holidaymakers caught up in the wildfires on the Greek island of Rhodes. Fires remain out of control, according to the island's deputy mayor. Thousands of tourists have fled from their hotels to emergency shelters. 2 special evacuation flights are due to land at Leeds Bradford Airport later tonight. Phil Bodmer has the latest.
At war with the wildfires, the words of the Greek Prime Minister. As roads continue to burn today, tourists from our region spoke of their experiences. James and Danielle McMahon from Bradford were on holiday in Pevkos, 3 kilometres from the fire, and they've told us some of their story.
Alarms started ringing through the hotel and there was a red message on the TV screens. Hotel staff advised everyone to leave luggage and head to the beach. We could see it burning just on the hills overlooking the sea, and thick black smoke filled the sky.
At 2:30 in the morning, James's holiday company Jet2 picked them up by coach.
We went to a military base first, but we were turned away. There must have been around 20 coaches full of people trying to get into these makeshift camps. We couldn't get in, so we drove all the way to Rhodes city centre, an hour and 20 minutes away from the hotel. Upon arriving at the college, the guys there handed out water, food, blankets and sleeping bags and took down everyone's information.
James and Danielle slept on a classroom floor on Saturday night with around 15 others. He says he thinks every classroom in the college was full. James has commended the Greek people who helped them. They got a message to say the hotel was safe for them to return to, and they're due to fly home tomorrow. Darryl Wintle and his partner Rachel from Garforth sent us these images. They too have been caught in the chaos.
In terms of the Greek people, they've been wonderful. They're kind of trying to carry on as normal, but you can see the worry in their faces, can't you?
They've been very apologetic to us, which I find incredible. So sorry you're going through this. And it's, as Rachel says, they're just really hospitable people and really friendly, and knowing that their island is going through this and having to live through this, and they're concerned for themselves and their relatives, to put on the hospitality that they have, particularly at the school where we were taken, it just is a massive credit to them as a nation, really.
Well, Jet2 says it's providing 2 additional repatriation flights due to land here at Leeds Bradford Airport later tonight with around 400 seats available. The airline says it's also putting extra staff on the ground in Rhodes to help provide additional support. Alongside those trying to come home are those who are booked to get away.
If you're going within the next day or two, I would have hoped that your tour operator, airline, travel agent would have considered, contacted you. So if people are travelling in August, I just give them a chance to see what's going on. I'm sure they will be in contact, but certainly if you're going within the next few days, then you need to know obviously what is going on there.
Like a scene from a disaster movie, the fires continue to burn, but no one really knows when this particular horror story will end. Phil Bodmer, BBC Look North.
Horrifying images there, aren't there? So, are travel companies doing enough to help? And what are your rights if you've got a holiday booked to a Greek island in the next few weeks? I've been speaking to travel expert Simon Calder.
Well, of course, Jet2, now the biggest holiday company in the UK, and TUI, its great rival, I think have done the right thing to say we want to reduce the pressure on the infrastructure on the island. And of course, we would include in that those cancellations people who would be going to the affected area. So even though some people are still going out on holiday to the 90%, which isn't there, these two companies have effectively said, you're not going, you can have all your money back. And TUI's also said if you're going out on Saturday or Sunday, you can choose between having your holiday and your money back unless you're going to the affected area. Both companies, of course, heavily criticised during this, but I think behind the scenes, they have been working extraordinarily hard to solve what's an appalling crisis that's caused so much distress to so many people.
There has been criticism, as you've just mentioned, to some of the tour companies. Have they acted quick enough?
As you will know, a lot of people turned up on Saturday and they turned up at the airport and they were told, you're not going to your resort, you're going to sleep on the floor of a school tonight. Now, something obviously went badly wrong. Communication in these circumstances is always going to be very difficult. The idea that there's some kind of international rescue for holidaymakers, I'm afraid there isn't, although it is absolutely essential we learn the lessons from this event because, well, very sadly, it looks as though they could become more frequent.
People who are out there, who've arrived and the holiday hasn't gone to plan, can they get any money back? Is this seen as one of those things that's out of anyone's control?
If you are simply leaving your holiday because you don't want to be in Rhodes anymore, then it's very questionable about whether you will get any compensation. If your holiday hotel is closed or indeed burnt down, then obviously you cannot have the holiday as booked, in which case you would be able to claim some compensation under the package travel regulations. But it is a tricky business, and it's one of those things where I think the arguments will go on for probably months, if not indeed years, about how much people should get.
Understandably, people may be watching it unfold on the news and feel like they don't want to go on their holiday to Rhodes anymore. What rights do they have if their flights are still going out there?
Well, the Jet2 did the right thing in cancelling all the way up to the 30th of July, that's next Sunday, and we still don't know what's going to be happening. The assumption is if you've booked a holiday and the travel provider is able to deliver a safe and enjoyable holiday, then the assumption is that it will go ahead and you will not be entitled to any refund.
Sam, thank you. Well, from extreme heat to the rain, people living in the Hillsborough area of Sheffield say they're worried their local park has been ruined. It's after the Tramlines festival turned into a complete mud bath over the weekend. There was almost an average month's rainfall in just 2 days as thousands of people attended the music festival at Hillsborough Park. Organisers say work to restore the park will start next week. Mark Ansell is at the park now. It's the school holidays, Mark, and many families would normally use that park behind you.
They certainly would, Amy. It's a lovely evening here, unlike the weekend. But as you can see behind me, the green barriers are still up over most of Hillsborough Park as the set down continues. And it will take more than 7 days for the public to have access to their park again. And that has been delayed by the fact that we had such heavy rain combined with tens of thousands of people churning up Hillsborough Park. Just take a look at this muddy mess. Mud, mud, glorious mud. Tens of thousands of festival goers made the most of it. Relentless rain over the 3 days of Tramlines meant Hillsborough Park became a mud bath. Some festival goers truly embraced the dirt.
It was a bit mental to do with all that weather. It ruined it a slight bit, but we just thought, may as well mudslide, take chances.
I thought weather made it better.
Not going to let the weather ruin your day. I mean, it's not like anything was going to change, it just carried on raining, so we just thought, go for it.
At the end of the day, it's brought a lot of money into the community, and the community needs that right now. My other half runs a pub, and it's been quite tough on pubs and the area, so I think it's brought a lot of money into the community, and they need to realise that, yeah, OK, the park is ruined for a couple of weeks, but it will get better.
But many residents living nearby are angry at the state of their public space.
It's heartbreaking, to be honest. My family use this park on a very regular basis. We're in here most weekends. I can't get in here, my kids can't get into the sports field. I don't know how long that's going to take, and I don't know what state it's going to be in for them when they finally get access again.
Festival organisers say they planned for rain and brought in extensive extra measures to meet the challenging conditions, including delaying opening on Saturday and Sunday.
We put an incredible amount of work in overnight and the following mornings and stuff to make sure that we've got the right mitigations in place. But I think, from what I've seen and from what I saw over the weekend, everyone had a great time. We've had, up to 40,000 people a day coming and dancing in the mud and just making the most of it. We've got extra bodies booked in to come and help with the takedown because it's going to be challenging for us. But we've got plans in place and we're going to do what we need to do to put the park back to the right condition. And to be clear, we're going to pay for it all.
Sheffield City Council says they'll support festival organisers to get Hillsborough Park back to its usual high standards as swiftly as possible.
It's been incredibly successful over the last few years, and we want to keep it like that. But as we do every year, we'll be reviewing the situation once we've completed the work, restored the park to its proper state, and then sit down and start planning next year.
The groundwork repairs start a week today. In the meantime, most of Hillsborough Park will remain closed to the public, despite this being the first day of school holidays. Mark Ansell, BBC Look North, Sheffield.
You're watching Monday's Look North, still to come on tonight's programme. Water everywhere. The North Yorkshire village battling with sewage in the streets. But before that, Sheffield Wednesday say the club is deeply saddened by the death of former player and manager Trevor Francis. He managed the Owls from 1991 to 95, leading them to the FA Cup final in 1993. As a player, he represented England 52 times and was also a key figure in Wednesday's promotion back to the top tier in 1991. Former teammate Chris Turner says he was an ultimate professional.
Just a super guy, a super professional. Ultimate professional, looked after himself off the field, wasn't one that socialised with the players, not because he didn't like or want to. He was just a super professional and looked after his body. But he was such a nice guy. He was, you couldn't dislike him. And it's a sad day today for all the fans and obviously his ex-playing colleagues.
Sad day indeed. A man's been charged with attempted murder after an incident at Britain's highest pub. A man in his 40s suffered serious injuries to his arm at Tanhill Inn at the Yorkshire Dales on Friday night. Police say a 46-year-old man's been charged with attempted murder and firearms offences. He's due in court today. 4 men and a 17-year-old boy have been jailed for life for the murder of a man who was found dead at a house in Rotherham in September last year. The court heard how a drug gang tortured and raped 31-year-old Adam Clapham before killing him over the theft of £300. The mother of the victim says the manner of his son's death continues to give her nightmares. Now, it's a staggering statistic, but no babies have been born in hospitals in the Kirklees area of West Yorkshire for more than a year. The midwife-led birth centre in Huddersfield closed in 2020 and the one in Dewsbury closed last May. It means longer journeys for new parents who have to go to Wakefield or Halifax instead. So why has this happened? Kathy Killick has been finding out.
Happy, healthy and engaged, the babies and toddlers supported by the newly registered Happy Moments charity are tapping into a growing network of young families in Kirklees. Over 1,000 women are in the network, so they're just the people to ask about maternity provision, or rather lack of it, in their area.
We've had a lot of messages from mums that they're struggling with travelling out of Kirklees, and the struggle is the anxiety behind having to travel out to Pinterfields or Halifax because it's such a long journey, and especially when you're going through labour.
Before the pandemic, women in Kirklees could take their pick of 4 hospitals to give birth. Calderdale Royal in Halifax, Huddersfield Royal Infirmary, the Bronte Birth Centre in Dewsbury and Pinderfields in Wakefield. Now Huddersfield Royal and the Bronte Centre have effectively been mothballed, so expectant mothers face long journeys. It's especially galling as the state-of-the-art centre in Dewsbury was opened less than 10 years ago to smiles all round. What's gone wrong is a chronic shortage of midwives.
It's really important to people in Batley and Spen and across Kirklees that they don't have that personal choice taken away from them. But ultimately we are dealing with over a decade, in my view, of mismanagement of the NHS, which has led to these local services being cut from people's lives, and that's just not good enough.
The government says it's investing £165 million a year to grow the maternity workforce, and it's also offering thousands more training places. And its long-term workforce plan announced recently should also help. But in the here and now, this birthing unit remains closed for women in labour, with no timetable for it to reopen to take those births.
I do feel like we are forgotten, this forgotten area that's 400 odd kilometres square, that we are just invisible. So yeah, I'm sad for the women in North Kirklees and Kirklees in general, because obviously Huddersfield shut as well. So yeah, it's just sad. It's just a waste.
Very disappointed Amy Jane Beale ending that report there. So what is behind the shortage of maternity staff? Lynn Galvin is from the Royal College of Midwives. She explained why there aren't enough staff for these centres.
It's as a result of a decade of underfunding by the government in maternity services. And that's a real concern to us. We've been lobbying the government for a number of years, and we estimate that there are 2,500 midwives short still.
There was a workforce rise between 2019 and 2023 of 14% in the NHS, but only 1% of midwives. So why do people not want to join?
Over a number of years, there's been low student midwife places. That has been increased recently, but it takes 3 years to train a midwife, so it takes that length of time to get them into service. And then what we have been finding is that when they get into service, there's a lack of support because there's a lack of qualified midwives in service. So they've been reconsidering their career at the point that they enter the service. They turn up on a shift and they might start work in one area and then are moved to another area. They work often through breaks. They finish late, and we did a survey of our members in March of this year. We asked them to tell us what it was like to work in maternity services for 1 week in March, and they told us that they were working hours and hours without pay. So we estimate that across England, in that week, midwives worked 100,000 hours without pay.
The government says it's given £165 million of additional investment per year to grow the maternity workforce. Will that address the issues that you've just addressed?
It will. It will go some way to addressing them. The NHS workforce plan has clearly indicated that there is a commitment to fund midwives moving into the future. So that's really welcomed by the Royal College of Midwives. But what we need to make sure is that services are looking to retain experienced staff. So we need to make sure that they're putting in plans flexible working, and we need to make sure that there's career development and they invest in training for midwives.
Lynn Galvin, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Now, over the last few months here on Look North, we've reported on sewage being dumped into the sea and rivers. Today, it's a rural village in North Yorkshire. Residents in Bishop Monkton near Ripon say their community turns into an open sewer after very heavy rain, and they're calling for an urgent upgrade to the drains. Yorkshire Water says it is looking at options to improve the situation. Olivia Richwald is in the village for us this evening. Well, it looks glorious there this evening, Olivia.
Looks idyllic, doesn't it, Bishop Monkton? But residents say when it rains very heavily, sewage bursts up from the drains below and pollutes and floods this street. I've been having a look at some of the figures produced by Yorkshire Water, and they show that since the start of 2020, there have been 176 discharges of sewage into the Bishop Monkton Beck for a total of 1,600 hours.
This is what happens in the centre of Bishop Monkton after a heavy downpour. The drains cannot cope and spew filthy water and raw waste into the streets.
Water blasts out of this manhole through these holes, massive pressure like a fountain, and the water floods all around the roads here, and of course the overspill goes straight into the beck to my right here.
We do hear about it going into sort of large expanses of water, and we think, oh, well, that's okay, really, it'll get dissipated. But here it doesn't. It comes up, it comes onto the street. Human waste, 2023, in a pretty little village in North Yorkshire, human waste comes down the street when it rains hard.
We will be having our annual duck race, Platinum Jubilee Duck Race.
Bishop Monckton Beck flows the entire length of this village. It's the heart of community life. This was last year for the Platinum Jubilee. The stream has always flooded in extreme weather, and residents understand that risk. They just want the pipe sorted so sewage doesn't pour into the street too.
This village is on a very slight slope, so it all eventually comes right down through the village and past our houses. The clear-up takes days, but it's just foul. And it's very sad. It's a beautiful village, and we've got this fantastic stream.
There were planning applications for 100 new homes in the village, and although the larger scheme has now been withdrawn, it's prompted new appeals for the sewer system to be upgraded.
Unfortunately, if we don't take this opportunity now to raise this issue now before these houses get approved, then nothing will be done. And the new developments will have good drainage systems, but it doesn't matter because their good drainage systems are just going to pour more water into the bad drainage system that exists here in the village now.
Yorkshire Water says it's aware of some issues in this area and is investigating adding storage capacity to cope with heavy rain. It reminds customers not to exacerbate the problem by rinsing cooking fat down the sink, and says it's building an investment programme to reduce discharge into watercourses.
Yorkshire Water says the problem is surface water infiltrating the sewerage system, and residents have told me that the sewer water and the surface water share the same pipe, and that's what they would like to see upgraded. They also believe that the problem of flooding is only going to get worse here with climate change. Residents have told me that they've been told they're part of a 25-year programme to replace parts of the network. The problem is they just don't know how long they're going to have to wait.
Olivia, thank you. Let's turn to sport now, and the Halifax Panthers and the Batley Bulldogs are on their way to Wembley for the final of the 1895 Cup, which will be played on the same day. It's the first time Batley have reached Wembley in their history. What a game that'll be. It was also a great weekend for Leeds Rhinos, who are through to the Women's Challenge Cup final. They beat Wigan in their semi-final yesterday. Catalan Beavers with the pick of the tries as the Rhinos won 16 points to 4. Their final opponents will be St Helens, who beat York in the semi-final by a single point on Saturday.
I'm just emotional thinking about it because for me it's like a bit of a dream now, so
I think you can tell as well, like I watched the game obviously yesterday, and I think that it's so good that there's a large number of players that are going to get that opportunity. It's great for young girls as well, you know, coming through the system, that they see what it means to be at that elite level. But for players like Amy, Shona, Jodie, this is that just reward for always sticking and paving that way.
Now, we've been at Barnsley Market today, helped to celebrate the achievement of Sue Round, who has clocked up exactly 50 years as a trader. There she is. Hello, Sue. Her stall is something of a local institution. Pats for pants. At 10:30, fellow traders and shoppers paused to applaud Sue as she was presented with a trophy to mark the moment. It was her sister Pat, actually, who set up the stall around 60 years ago. Sue joined the business after leaving school and has been there ever since. Sue was a little bit camera shy, so we spoke to her friends and her sister instead.
She's a great person in the market. You know, someone called her, she's like a mum to everybody on the market. You know, she's a great person. She gave me a lot of support when we first started. It's definitely a focal part of the town centre. Everybody comments on the huge pair of knickers and bras that you can probably see behind me on the stall.
Well, everything's always been good. Being able to wear it, no problem with it. It's always been in Barnsley, yeah.
Nice service and politeness, and that's what she's always done. She's always very polite with people, yeah. We always have been, yeah.
And do you know what, Sue? I've actually bought some of your pants in the past as well, so there we go. Finally tonight, passengers on a train from Shipley to Leeds were shocked over the weekend when they saw a snake appear slithering around the carriage. Can you imagine? Take a look at this. Oh, the unlikely passenger was later confirmed to be a corn snake, which luckily is harmless and has been named noodles. It was rescued by the RSPCA and is now in specialist care. It's not clear how Noodles actually got on board in the first place. Oh my goodness, I think it crawled out of someone's bag. Can you imagine seeing that?
New film, Snakes on the Train, isn't it?
I've met a few snakes on trains in the
I'd have really freaked out if I'd seen that. What a weekend.
I mean, what a weekend. That weather was atrocious. It was like November.
Months worth of rain. It's currently the 7th wettest July on record. And shock horror to the audience, this lady here put central heating on.
Only for half an hour, just to give it a boost. It was very chilly.
Shameful behaviour. Anyway, let's have that. I bet you're glad I've outed you there.
Can't believe you just outed me there.
Look at that. I mean, the farmers
back.
must be really fed up after what was obviously the hottest June on record. I mean, look at that field there. Half the wheat's flattened, part of it's flooded as well. And this is a ford, actually, on the North York moors at Goathland. You know, turned into a raging torrent, hardly surprising on Sunday with all that rainfall. If you've got any pictures, you want to send them in Twitter, Instagram, and on the Weather Watcher website. So tomorrow's forecast remains unsettled. There will be some sunshine around, but also a scattering of showers, especially in the afternoon, where one or two could be heavy with the risk of some thunder. And, you know, we are looking at the next weather system coming in late Wednesday into Wednesday night, bringing outbreaks of rain behind it through Thursday. It'll clear to sunshine and showers. And then I think Friday and the weekend, this area of low pressure will sit out to the west, and it means a broad run of west to southwesterly sunshine and scattered showers. But this weekend certainly will be a big improvement compared with the one we've just had. Now, I've had a few problems with the satellite, as you can see, but you can see there's some decent breaks actually across eastern parts of our region right now. So it's actually a reasonable evening with some sunny intervals. There's a risk of one or two showers coming down from the northwest overnight, but many of us will be dry, and we will see temperatures coming in at around about 8 or 9 degrees Celsius. Tomorrow's high water times in Scarborough at 9:33, Bridlington at 9:58. So it's not a bad start, actually. Most of us fine. There'll be some sunshine around, but as temperatures rise, you can see the showers breaking out. Where you see the greens in there, that means it's going to be heavy with the risk of some thunder and lightning. But in between those showers, temperatures shouldn't feel too bad at 18 degrees, but the average is 21, so we're still a good 3 degrees below average for this time of the year. Wednesday, a few showers, the main body of rain coming through late in the day, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday and Sunday, it looks showery, but the best of the sunshine always the further you go towards the coast. That's the forecast.
Supposed to be going camping at the weekend. Is that a bad idea?
Depends where you're going.
Well, I haven't decided yet. Wherever it's not raining.
Go east towards the coast.
That's it from us. Bye-bye for now. Tom Ingalls here.